right, XRP. Created in 2012 for the banks and financial institutions, XRP has done a few things that most other cryptocurrencies only wish that they could do. For example, first off, they've shown us their longevity. While most other altcoins have since died or fallen way off since their first 1 to 2 years on the market, XRP has remained. They've survived for over half a decade, and number two, and more importantly, they've thrived. They've not only remained in the top 10, but this year they made their way up into the number 2 spot in ranking in terms of most valuable cryptocurrencies in existence. Not an easy thing. So despite what the haters say, you do not get in the top 10, let alone the number 2 spot by accident. So there's some clear value behind XRP. Yet despite how close XRP is with Bitcoin in ranking, they are two very different coins. Let's just take Bitcoin, for example. Bitcoin is a public, decentralized, permissionless blockchain, which is something that we've heard many times before. And that openness is actually the draw that people have to cryptocurrency in general. Because when I say public, I mean it's a completely transparent, open ledger. You can see every transaction that takes place. And decentralized, meaning it was the solution to the corruption that we see in governments and banks and businesses today. Because no single entity controls Bitcoin. XRP, unique in its own right. It is a private, centralized, permission-based blockchain, and it was actually a cryptocurrency that was created to work with the banks, to work with the regulators, to handle worldwide transactions. But it's just interesting because despite how popular and how long XRP has been in existence, there's some basic discrepancies that people still fight about. For example, when I called XRP centralized about a minute ago, about 28% of you, almost 1/3 of you, probably were angry. You're probably typing in those comments your opinions on XRP, and I want to hear them. Let me know in the comments what you think. But in this video, I just want to do a simple, honest video and look at the facts. Is XRP centralized? Is it decentralized? Let's just look at basic facts and have a discussion. Because here's the thing, own what you are. As we go into 2019, 2020, and beyond, I just want cryptocurrency projects just be more open about exactly what they're doing. So having said that, we're going to talk about all this and more here at Altcoin Daily, where you subscribe for a video on cryptocurrency every day. My name's Austin, and like always, let's get into it. First off, XRP not only has a strong use case, but they have an actual working product, XRapid, which is something that unfortunately most other cryptocurrencies can't claim. So their use case is they're the solution to faster, cheaper cross-border payments. Because right now, if you want to transfer money from one bank to another in different countries with different currencies or between different governments, it's not only going to take a minimum of 3 to 7 days to transfer those funds and get them exchanged, but it's going to cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in fees, depending on how much money you send. So it's slow and it's expensive. And XRP is that solution because they're working with the banks to offer faster, more scalable cross-border payments. XRP consistently handles over 1,500 transactions per second, one of the fastest cryptocurrencies in existence. But all transactions will not only take place in seconds, but no matter what it is, it'll take less than a penny in fees to send. Obviously, huge value, a huge solution to the problem that we're facing. But is it centralized? And bigger question, does it matter if it solves the problem? Well, in order to figure out if it's centralized or not, the first thing we're going to look at is supply, because whoever controls the supply controls the asset. And XRP has a max supply of about 100 billion coins. And right now the circulating supply is about 40% of that, of 40 billion coins. So who owns the majority of those coins? Well, this is the first fact that I want to bring you. And I found some discrepancies, but from everything I've read, well, first off, with most digital currencies, the tokens are mined. by people, or rather miners, who validate transactions on the network and are then awarded block rewards. Ripple Labs, who created XRP, however, avoided this structure and pre-mined all of the XRP, which are about 100 billion tokens in total, and the firm kept 60 billion XRP for themselves and released the rest on the market. So I've heard some discrepancies. It's either 60 billion or 70 billion, but whatever it is, just know that the firm owns 60 to 70% of the supply. So if somebody owns the majority of the supply, do you consider that centralized? Yeah, I mean, if they control the majority of it, they can control what's done with it and the value behind it. And let me know in the comments if that matters to you. But another fact that's not, that, you know, if you've been around XRP for a while, you definitely know, but it's not really talked about anymore, is out of that $100 billion in supply, 55 billion of those coins are in an escrow. Let's read this and find out why. With an aggregated supply of 100 billion coins, the Ripple organization has put 55 billion of those coins in escrow. Nobody can touch. And these are held in a place by smart contracts, which releases 1 billion XRP per month over 55 months. Any unused amount will be put onto the back of the queue for release in months 56, 57, and so on. So they hold 55 billion in escrow, and the reason for this is that it's simply to help initiate and bring banks onto their network. Because, like I said, they have a working product, XRapid, which is something that can be used for those cross-border payments with any cryptocurrency, not just XRP. But they saved 55 of those billion because they know that it's, you know, a grind to get that adoption worldwide. And 55 of those billion are going to be offered to banks to onboard them onto the network. So say what you want about that, but just know that just means that the minority of those coins are left for us, the common folk. What do you think? Well, team, this is something that has been brought up to Ripple many times, and I want to offer both sides of this story. You know, we're going to be fair in this video, like we always are on this channel, and this is the quote that they say, that many people hold true as to why XRP is decentralized. This is the quote from their leadership. Ripple is not decentralized. Ripple is a company with a CEO and a board of directors. It is a centralized corporation. XRP, on the other hand, is certainly decentralized. Centralization is not a permanent state. You could argue that Bitcoin was decentralized in its early days, and you could argue that it's more centralized than it's ever been. And we'll get to Bitcoin in a second, but then they say XRP has over 160 validators, and Ripple, the company, only controls 5% of those validators. How can XRP be centralized? That's a good point. And let's look at that, because just because they say they own 5% of the validators, and the validators are the people that control the network, doesn't mean it's true. But we can fact check this, which I have done. And this, I'll leave this link in the description below, but if we look at dominance of active validators, according to this chart, Ripple actually doesn't have 5. They have 8% dominance, and 92% of those validators are controlled by non-Ripple entities. So that is true. What do you think? I hold it to you guys. Even though they control well over half of the supply, they control less than 8% of the validators. So is XRP centralized? Let's keep digging. Let's keep going. Let's keep learning. And if you're getting any value thus far, feel free to like the video. But let's look at this for what is the proof of centralization. Well, for one thing, if you can freeze accounts, if you can control transactions, then to me, that shows that really you're just like the banks. Whether that's good or bad, it is a centralized entity. So here's some proof saying that XRP is centralized. The first thing that provokes critics is the fact that it is believed that Ripple has the power to freeze accounts, much like a bank would if there were any concerns. And this issue of freezing accounts began all the way back in 2014 when the company introduced this new feature. And this new feature, able to freeze accounts and transactions, it was not publicized when this first happens, but its intent would soon be evident. Because soon after the introduction of this feature, Jed McCaleb, one of the co-founders, who later left the company to create Stellar Lumens, tried to sell billions of XRP after leaving the company. His account was frozen by the company and he couldn't transfer that XRP. It's interesting. And obviously we see the intent for freezing his assets. If he would have sold all that XRP, it would have tanked the price. XRP probably would have been fine in the long run, but it would have heavily devalued the coin as more supply came on into the market. But just because they could freeze the supply, should they have? Should a cryptocurrency have power to do that? And if they do, obviously this was quote unquote, I guess, for a good reason if you're invested in the coin. But that just shows they can do it anytime they want. Doesn't that make them no better than the banks? What do you think? There's also evidence that the company has created a gateway that could be used to manipulate trades. And I'll leave this full article in the link in the description below. But let me know what you think. And, we've actually seen centralization before. Let's get to Bitcoin for a second, because Bitcoin, especially this last year, we've seen pockets of centralization in the miners. That has to do with the whole Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV debacle, but also in other cryptocurrencies like EOS, for example. EOS has froze some transactions, we saw earlier this year, which begs the question, how much centralization are we going to accept in cryptocurrency? Because I'll be honest, despite the dream of a decentralized world, we haven't found the perfect balance yet. Right now, it seems with any cryptocurrency, whether it's Ripple, a company behind a crypto, or a person like Vitalik Buterin or Dan Larimer or whoever it is, it seems that we need some centralized force to give us confidence to be able to, back cryptocurrency. That's what it seems like. This is where I'm coming from. For me personally, and I'm discovering more and more information every day, if there's a third generation, DApp platform like EOS, that's primarily going to be used for games and applications like that, to me, it's not as important that cryptocurrency is completely decentralized in every aspect. If there's certain centralization there, that doesn't matter to me personally. But when I'm looking at a currency that it will presumably used for world adoption, it does matter to me, centralization, because then it's no different than the banks. And that's honest. And there's one more thing I want to bring to you. There's a website that you can go to, ledger.exposed/rich-stats, and you can see the rich list of the richest people, wallets, I should say, that own XRP. And what do we see? We see 9 accounts have over 100 billion XRP tokens to infinity. They have over 9 have over 100 billion tokens. 6 have between 500 billion and 100 billion, and it goes on from there. So you can see that 9 accounts have over 100 billion of the coins. That's a lot. That's pockets of centralization, what we've been talking about. And to be fair, I want to debunk one thing on this Ledger Exposed site, and this comes up in videos occasionally. And don't tune out on me, guys, because we're going to wrap this all up in the end, and I want to know what you think. But just so you know, if you look at this list, they count exchanges as a single wallet. So essentially, because we can't see what the exchanges are, knowing these numbers are somewhat useless because it doesn't give us specifics, but it just shows us generalizations of who owns what amount of XRP. I'll leave this in the link below. Let me know what you think, team. There might be a lot of new people watching this video wondering, should I invest in XRP? Should I not? And I tried to just present the facts and make it fair. Does centralization matter to you? Do you believe that XRP is decentralized? And to be fair, XRP is technically decentralized, but since a single entity controls the majority, to me it makes it centralized. Let's just say, for example, Ripple closed their doors, the centralized company ended. XRP would still exist, but I think it would tank. I don't think without Ripple, banks are going to adopt XRP. but let me know what you think. Guys, we'll end the video today. Feel free to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and like always, I'll see you tomorrow.